Welcome to It's Not What You Think with Mordy Levine, where we get to meet and talk to spiritual teachers from around the world. Our guests are from all walks of life, and we hear about how they got into spirituality and how they navigate the world we all live in. This is episode 16, recorded on June 17th, 2021. Sifu Gary Tong is a master instructor in Tai Chi and Qigong. Gary also teaches a medical form of Qigong for the prevention and healing of various illnesses and diseases. He is an incredible martial arts practitioner and healer, and a genuine human being. He was also my Tai Chi instructor for many years. I love listening to him on this podcast and how he heals his students and how we can all get rid of anger and fear. Gary can be reached at his website at touchofchi.com. It's Not What You Think podcast is available on YouTube and Spotify. So please like, comment, share, or subscribe when you watch or listen. That support is enough to continue to allow us to produce this show. Our interviews are with people who may have opinions different from yours or mine. So while we keep an open mind, remember, it's not what you think. Good place to start is at the beginning. How did you find Tai Chi and Qigong? How did that bump into your life?
Well, I guess I would have to go back in time with my Kung Fu days. I first got into Kung Fu as a young man growing up in New York. And great Kung Fu teacher, Grandmaster Alan Lee, who taught the discipline of Kung Fu. And I learned that Kung Fu itself means discipline, not just fighting like most people would think. And through Grandmaster Lee, I learned the basic principles of Kung Fu, disciplining your body, your mind, and your spirit. And of course, everything starts with the physical, right? Closest to us. So lots of physical exercise, learning the forms, which also trains the mind, and lots of meditation. It's all part of this program. So that journey led me, to fall in love with the art of training and
So
discipline.
that must have been in the 80s, I would think.
Well, 10 years earlier.
Okay, so
Actually,
70s. Okay.
70s,
So
yeah.
you're in, okay. No, that great. Yeah. So, and did you up in Brooklyn or Queens? I forget.
Brooklyn,
Brooklyn.
yes.
Yeah, me too. What part of Brooklyn? I forget.
I,
We
I
probably had
was
this conversation 20 years ago, but I don't
probably
remember.
so. I don't remember. I was actually, I grew up in Bed-Stuy,
In
Brooklyn.
Bed-Stuy. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Kung Fu in Bed-Stuy, that's for sure.
Well, yes, you needed it, especially moving from Guyana, where I was born, and moving to Brooklyn, New York, and being introduced to the school systems there. And of course, at that time in the 70s, the street gangs. So,
Bed-Stuy was not like it
yes,
is today. I don't know if you know about today, but today you and I can't buy anything in Bed-Stuy. But no,
that's what I heard.
back then it was a very, very difficult neighborhood, East New York and Bed-Stuy. So wow,
Mm-hmm.
so there was a guy teaching Kung Fu, probably had a studio, and you said, hey,
No,
let me
not in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn. I actually went to Manhattan for lessons
to learn
to learn from Grandmaster Alan Lee.
in
Was
Chinatown, or is that where he was teaching?
No, he was actually, I think at that time may have been in 23rd and
Okay.
7th. And basically, I was working in the summer for on a restaurant, and that's what allowed me to pay for my own lessons.
Right.
And I remember getting late every time to classes because I would get off for work late. And of course, to join the classes when you're late, you have to do push-ups,
I know all about it. Yep.
fingertips,
Yep. Yep.
50 push-ups. So I believe the push-ups helped me to get stronger.
And to be
I
on
was
time.
always late.
Yep.
I was never on time. I was always late because I had to work to pay for classes. But I accepted it. I was doing my finger push-ups, and it led to further things. And
Now, what's really cool about that is that was in the 70s. So this guy was, okay, Kung Fu, sure. I mean, that preceded Karate Kid and all that by 10, 20 years. So that was early on. Because I didn't start karate until 79 or 80. And that was pretty early. And you were even earlier. But what's really cool about it is this guy was teaching meditation also. So he was
Mhm.
the real deal, the real authentic thing. Now, Yeah, and it sounds like he was also part of a lineage as well.
Yes, yes. Grandmaster Lee is from a tradition of very strong lineage of Kung Fu masters. He had many styles under his belt, but learning the discipline is learning not just the art, you learn also medicine. When we were training, we learned how to make our hands strong because part of the testing that you would go through uh, is to break. But you just don't just keep chopping. You have to soak your hands in herbs to make your bones strong. So we learn about some of those medicines. You train, you hit your hands, you soak it in medicine. One was called iron vinegar, and you had another medicine that makes your hands soft as silk because he would show us his hands. He said, "Look at my hands; it's softer than a lady's hands, and yet strong as iron." So that was the yin and yang balance that he was teaching us. So the conditioning, the training, the herbs, the medicine, and he was giving us a holistic view of what kung fu is.
What's amazing is that's happening, and I mean, it's not amazing given what I know about martial arts and all that, and my history. But the cool thing is that's going on in the '70s,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
right? Because
Yes. Mm-hmm.
now it's common. We talk, oh, holistic and yin, yeah, everyone. You tap anyone on the shoulder and they go, oh yeah, we know about, it, especially in California. But that's phenomenal. So that was your start is kung fu with, and how did you find Alan Lee?
I think I must have been the phone book, Yellow Pages. Did they have Yellow Pages back then?
Yeah,
Not
for
sure,
sure.
but somehow I looked it up because prior to that I visited many karate schools, a lot of taekwondo and karate, but I wanted something different. And visiting these schools, sitting and watching, I fell in love with the kung fu style of Alan Lee. And to enter his school or join his temple, you just don't come and pay your money like most schools. That's all you do. You had to take an exam. And I think the exam was more to check your psychological reasoning, why you want to learn the art. And but I guess whether you went to them, pass or fail, you probably still accept it, but they just get a view of the
Right.
type, your temperament as a person and what your desire are. And but anyway, it was good training, and that led me to learn other styles of kung fu, which I had also studied and practiced, and then finally Tai Chi in my 20s. I was in my teens when I started the kung fu, uh, maybe 13, 14, and in my late 20s, I started to look into Tai Chi and Qigong as being the internal arts. And I moved from New York to Baltimore, and I discovered two great Tai Chi teachers, which I started with and learned. Mm-hmm.
Wow, amazing. So, and of course now you teach a lot of Tai Chi and Qigong and a lot of medical types of techniques
Yeah.
for your clients and your students. And now
Mm-hmm.
you have a large following of senior citizens learning from you.
Mm-hmm.
How do you teach seniors differently from others?
You stick to the principles, really. And when you look at Tai Chi, uh, it's the art of balance. And the art of balance teaches us to understand yin yang. First thing, our physical body, we learn how to have proper alignment, standing. Breath, you pay attention to inhale and exhale. Those are yin yang. And in movement, you want the person to be able to identify that difference. Like, in order to move, if you're standing, we have to put all our weight on one leg and empty the other, right? The empty leg we call yin, no weight, and only the empty leg can move. And then you move that. When you put your weight on that leg, the other leg now becomes empty. So the mind is can feel, right? And you can distinguish yin yang. And those are the basic principles. And with seniors, I do cater the forms. I start the smaller forms rather than teaching them a long form. Actually, even advanced students, that comes from other styles to learn from me, I start them with small forms to see how they perform and if they are adhering to those principles. And the Tai Chi teaches all the postures, give you that feeling of yin yang and how you coordinate those movements also with your breath. And there are many postures. In the Yang system that I teach, there are 37 postures. And each of those postures are a form within itself. So basically, a person should learn to practice each posture both sides, right? To balance both sides of the brain. And most of the forms that you learn, if you're learning a short form or a long form, every student will learn it one direction. And many teachers may not share with them that they should learn to do the opposite direction as well. And so when I start with small form, like I would start with the circle form, which would teach two postures, resting versus tail, single whip. Once they learn to play it on one side, then now let's reverse and do it both sides. And that itself is good enough for many seniors because they are learning to feel and balance both sides of the brain, and they can feel the energy moving. Now, within Tai Chi is Qigong, and really Qigong is the essence of Tai Chi. So, a person may not be as coordinated or patient to spend the time to learn the forms, but they can stand and breathe and do simple movements, right? Those simple movements with breath, just like yoga, start to open up channels in the body. That's very healthy for a person. So Qigong, always you do Qigong, and then Tai Chi is Qigong, which gives you more movements with breathing. And of course, you come back to always being still and mindful of what's going on, what you're feeling. So Tai Chi, Qigong, meditation. It's all one.
I'm there. I'm with you. 100%. Sign me up. So what I enjoy about Tai Chi and Qigong and studying from you is that you could just take one, and maybe you're saying the same thing. You could just take one technique,
Yes.
just one technique and just breathe in
That's
and
right.
out. And that could be your whole practice right there.
That's right. That's
Sure.
right.
Do I want to learn other movements and forms and this? Yeah, absolutely. But if you left me on a desert island, and you only gave me one technique, I'm good.
Yes, that's right. And that's the way it was taught and practiced in the old days. And my teacher, Dr. Chang, he said in the old days, the master would give you one posture, like opening posture, and you would practice that for 1 month. And they would come back and check and see if you're doing it, but doing it with the right mind. Not just, but really concentrating and feeling. And even if you do that for 1 month, 108 times, like you'll feel lots of energy flowing through your body.
Yeah.
That's more beneficial than trying to learn many postures and missing that experience.
Yeah. When I started karate back in 1979, they taught me the front punch.
Mm.
And that's all they taught me.
Yeah.
And for maybe a block also. And for maybe a few months, that's all that I did. And, I'm thinking like, this isn't going to hurt anyone, nor am I going to be able to defend myself. But then, of course, you watch the teacher and you realize what the teacher can do, and that keeps coming back.
Yeah.
But I didn't understand the Asian way mentality at the time.
Of disciplining and going over. It's the same way Miyagi just had Daniel's son wash his car.
Right.
I mean, and treat his friends.
Wax on, wax off. Wax on, wax off.
Repetitive motion that we do constantly brings muscle memory, right? The body physically. But when you add the mind and consciousness to what's being done, and you put more of that inner feeling to it, which is your energy, your spirit, it has much more meaning behind it.
Yeah, I saw
that's the training. That's the discipline.
I saw a quote by a yoga master: repetition without awareness is worthless.
Yes.
So yeah, no, I'm with you 100%. So
Mm,
Tai Chi is a martial art, obviously.
mhm,
And I've been doing it since I was 21, and until I met you, and then I shifted over for a few years, and very happy that I did. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about fear. So I
mhm,
know that for many, many years, I'd go to class and I'd be afraid.
mm,
And then afraid of getting hit, afraid of not performing, afraid of not being able to finish the class,
mm,
afraid of my ego being hurt because I couldn't do what others could do or something like that. Because when you get
mm.
hit, you're not only getting hit physically, but your ego is like,
That's the key. It's the ego mostly, and because it may not be any uh, contact, but the fear of performing in front of someone or the fear of being corrected. And I experience that a lot with students, even advanced students. Sometimes I correct them when they get insulted, and you wonder, whereas I guess in their mind they thought, this stuff I should know, but they say something, and maybe my intention is not to create, criticize or something, but help them become more aware or experience something different. And that itself can cause a person to get, tense or repulsive. Now, when it comes to contact, like, if you're doing uh, sparring or different things, person getting hit, that's understandable because physically they may be weak inside. They haven't conditioned. That's why when I learned Kung Fu for 1 year with Grandmaster Lee, we do lots of conditioning exercise, like abdominal, lots of hitting yourself, you know what I mean, to strengthen the chi, lots of deep breathing, and then they hit you so you can tolerate feeling that. And when you learn sparring, you just don't go in there and spar right away. You learn to move, to breathe without contact and feeling the flow, sensing. Then you get closer. Then you start going slow. Then you go faster. But you build up the tolerance. So the fear is not there as much. But the fear, that's physical, overcoming certain physical weakness and fear. But fear of being embarrassed, those are emotional fears. Fear of feeling maybe the ego is, being pride or being questioned, or fear of one questioning your intelligence, getting it. That becomes more emotional, psychological fear. And there are all types of different fears that
yeah.
can
And I,
repeat
and I,
ourselves.
and I had
Yeah.
all of those.
Yes.
I mean, looking back, I had, I didn't really understand why for years I would go and I'd feel this anxiety and fear before class, but I had all those.
Mm,
And, um, and because class was so difficult, and because you were putting your mind into what you were doing, you weren't just going running a marathon. There's nothing wrong with running a marathon.
mm-hmm.
Um, when I came out, I was very high because
Mm.
all the fear was gone, the
Go on.
adrenaline,
Yes. The endorphins
uh,
moving. Yes.
clarity,
Yes.
things like
Yes.
that. So that's really what kept me going back for more. Just as
Mm,
a side note, so I taught class last night, karate, and I kept on correcting this one relatively new black belt. I said, we're doing a form, and in the middle of the form, there's a pause. Form
mm.
isn't just go 100% all the way.
Oh,
It's a
that's right.
dance. There's a
It's a
rhythm to it.
dance.
And I said, there's a pause here, and we're going to exhale, and we're going to
Yes.
inhale. You're going to
Yes.
ki, make a sound, and then you're going to take your time. You're going to inhale, and then bam, and then you move on.
Yes.
And she didn't. I don't want to say she refused to do it. She either couldn't do it, didn't want to do it, whatever. It was
Mm.
just a very simple thing that I was asking,
Yes.
and I realized either she didn't understand what I was asking, even though I was pretty clear, or
Mm-hmm.
was pretty much set in what she thought it should be.
To be. And it's hard to change that. You cannot.
You know,
You let
uh,
it be.
everyone else knew what I was asking, and I had
Yes.
spoken with her a few times. So
Yes.
very nice
Mm-hmm.
woman. But it was just
Yes.
interesting how, and I know also when I'm critiqued and I'm criticized, sometimes depending on my state of mind, I can accept it, sure, and other times I might be resistant. Who
Yes.
knows? Who knows. Um,
But when you think ponder on it, right? You may see some truth in what the person was trying to tell you. Sometimes in the moment, the person may not be able to become aware in that instant, but if they would reflect, right, back in the situation, maybe in their meditation, that's why we often take time to be still. You may say, wow, yes, what Morty was saying, yes, let me try this, and maybe something may come.
Yeah,
Maybe.
it's not like every time someone says something to me, I get it right away either.
Right,
You know,
exactly. It takes time.
sometimes it could take years. So,
Yes.
well said. So, and to me, martial arts works a lot with fear
Mhm.
because of all the reasons you mentioned, but it's very
Yes.
unique because we're not sitting there taking an Ikebana class or a tea ceremony, although there might be some fear involved there too. There's a physical activity going on, people trying to hurt each other.
Yes.
Um, so, how do you teach people to work with their fears, or
Mm.
simply by following your class and your techniques and your style and your energy, will those fears be worked with and dealt with naturally?
Okay. Good question. And that's why the Qigong is so important. When we look at fear in Qigong, or how energy moves through the body and how various organs are affected and affects the brain, fear itself comes from the kidney chi, okay? And breath work we want to do. And kidney meridians, which is grounded. That's why when you do horse stance, a person gets strong, they feel firm, and they do certain breathing techniques, it builds up that inner force to conquer that fearful feeling, which makes the knees weak, right? Makes you safe. So Qigong is so important. And Lama Qigong is very good for that because, well, all Qigongs are good. You practice a lot of the breathing techniques to strengthen up the kidney chi. But breath work, and karate may have it too, right? A lot of the
We've got horse stance also.
and function planning, they do a lot of it, just like the
Right.
Chinese Qigong, to build up that, right, that feeling of chi. Uh, that's one way of exercising to eliminate it. Uh, uh, the act, the process of going through the actions, in time you get stronger and you overcome. And if a person continue to practice, it will get better, it will improve, it will get stronger, and things become much simpler, easier.
Hmm.
Relaxation is a big part of it as well, because if a person is very tense and locked in, then things can affect them even more
Yeah.
because of the tension and stress
Sure.
that they're holding on to.
So,
So Tai
how,
Chi helps you to release that, right? Tai Chi and Qigong is based on standing meditation. When I was learning standing meditation, when I was a young man, not as patient as I am now, the master would light an incense stick. And he said, young man, stand there and relax and just breathe. And they tell you a few things, physically how to align and tongue on the roof. But the rest you have to deal with is your thoughts and mind. And, in the beginning, as you may stand and you may start to feel tension and start to get frustrated and, cannot relax into it. And a lot of that tension comes from our inner thoughts and mind that I became aware of later. For instance, I might not be thinking very pleasant of the teacher having me just stand there for, 15, 20 minutes, or sometimes longer. Later on, get a longer incense. But when you learn to relax and breathe, and one of the key things we do in Qigong is the inner smile, where with the breath comes in and you just smile with the breath, or you learn to smile through your body. So you learn to relax your shoulders, relax your body. And when your thoughts grow, where you imagine you're like a tree rooted in the earth and you stand there straight and relax, you get a different feeling that comes to the body and you can feel energy going and time disappear. So you're relaxing your physiology, your nervous system, and you're allowing your thoughts and mind to settle down, and then ultimately you have great thoughts. And that's meditation in a way.
so I guess the question I have is, and I have my own thoughts on it, but love to hear what you have to say. How does working with fears in martial arts transfer to other areas of life? For example, when I first started rock climbing, the fear I experienced in rock climbing was far greater than the fear I experienced in the martial arts world. And I was a black belt when I first started rock climbing. I went with another friend of mine, black belts, and we were both up there on the mountain, very anxious, high up.
Mm,
And I remember talking to actually a guy that I interviewed on one of these podcasts, Arno Illner. He said, not every discipline is immediately transferable. Now, there might be something about climbing and heights, which I think is a very
yes.
primal fear. It's
Mm-hmm.
not, but I also know, great martial artists that they have financial issues and they can
Mm,
get fearful of anxiety. So, meaning
sure.
that now, of course,
Mm-hmm.
the great of the greats, probably like Grandmaster Alan Lee and gentleman master that I studied with, Mr. Oshima,
Mm-hmm.
it's transferable. I could see
Yes.
that,
Mm-hmm.
or some of the great lamas. It's not like, oh, I've conquered my fear here, but over here I'm still a white belt. You don't see that with the
Mm,
greats.
nice.
Uh, so, my sense is, in the long run, not after 2, 3, 4, 5 years of karate or tai chi, but in the long haul, that's when you might start to see that connectivity more easily with other areas of life. What are your thoughts on that?
I agree. Yes, that is true. And it comes first. The arts give us discipline and strength, right? The training itself prepares you for other challenges in life, and whether the fear could be rock climbing. Of course, if you have a good instructor who's guiding you, teaching you, you're more keen to listening and then following instructions and taking your time. And with good coaching, you get better each time if that's what you want to do. Or if you want to learn swimming or something, small steps, right? You start. The biggest fear in life is when people have to face a lot of financial challenges, especially what we went through with the pandemic. I myself went through that, and uh, when you cannot work, and you said, "How can I support myself? Means can I do?" Of course, myself and many other instructors, we rely on the technology. We start using Zoom, right? Which is good. But let's say if Zoom was not available, we wouldn't have that means to have another outlet. See? I'm also a licensed massage therapist, and I didn't do any massage therapy for many months. How can you support yourself? And those are things that create more fear when it comes to your daily living. And of course, we all come to realization that we have to conquer some of those things. And whether to start learning certain financial things, which I took the time studying and trying to learn to overcome, and try to bring more balance within your life. And we always will have challenges in life. Everybody's challenges will be different. Or maybe financially, that's okay, but they have other challenges like health challenges. And then the health challenges will create fear and more fear when you have situations that, like in the pandemic, it's difficult for them to go out and get the treatments they want. You see? So,
So when you had that, let's talk about that for a bit, and I'll share my
mhm,
experience in a moment. So when you had that, where everything shut down, and you said, "No, I can't teach, I can't do massage therapy, I only have so much money in the bank," whatever was going on in your mind,
mhm.
I would assume, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you felt some degree of anxiety. Might be a little bit, a lot, don't know. But what did you? And then you're, of course, there's a smart, talented guy, so you look for other outlets. Well, I can still teach on Zoom, da, 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 and that's great. We should
Mhm.
all try to solve the problem. But
Yeah.
what were you able to do, or what did you do in your state of mind,
Mhm.
so that it's one thing to solve the problem, it's another thing to solve the problem in a reasonably
Yeah.
good state of mind.
Right. That's true.
So
First, you look at your,
what did you apply? What did you do in your mind? Oh, I meditated an extra 4 hours a day. I mean, I don't know, making it up, but
yeah.
how did you handle it?
The meditation and all that is all good for keeping you calm. The Tai Chi, Qigong, these are things I do daily anyway. But within doing those practice, you still have to look for solutions to help yourself and look at your options. Look at where you are, or have an awareness of what you have. Myself, I worked as an engineer for 23 years.
That's right.
Um, I didn't quite make it to retirement. I was 5 years short, so I didn't qualify for a pension. But I did have some money, and the 401k that I rolled over and things like that. So I had some income that I can pull from. What I started to take action and learning, how can I make that income, if I could, in my mind, double it, So that's when I was trying to study the market, listen to people. Things were going up and down, crazy, and because ultimately that's where I was pulling some resources from. I didn't work, but I need to pay bills, so I can withdraw. And I can withdraw because you may not know it. I'm now 62, so without a penalty, right, for 1K.
Right. That's right.
So I
Right.
I pulled out and was able to take care of myself. So
Right.
those things you needed to do for yourself, what you can. What options? But we have to look at what we have or where we are, where we're standing, what we can do to take some form of action to alleviate that tension.
Absolutely. I'm all for solving the problem.
Yeah.
And that's brilliant and strategic and executing it and all that stuff. But I'm more curious about the moment that you realized, oh, I'm not going to be able to earn a living the way I thought I was
Yeah.
going to be able to.
Oh, lots of alarms went on.
Right. So the alarms go on. Well, some people, the alarms don't go on
Mm,
because they're low IQ or because they've trained so much that it's like, okay, no problem. I'll
mm.
just deal with it. So, and my alarms went on. When your alarms went on, what did you do aside from actually saying, okay, I was an engineer. I'll look at the market. I'll do this. I'll do that. I'll go onto Zoom. But did you do anything in your mind to calm those alarms, or were
Yes,
you,
yes, yes. And looking at your options does calm the alarms.
for sure, helping
Okay.
yourself does calm?
And
Right.
and looking at certain situations because knowing that there's others in worse condition. So you calm yourself by doing that. And that's uh in your state of stillness and mindfulness meditation, you start to see more opportunities. And fortunate for me, also my wife could work from home. She was able to work from home. She's a psychotherapist, so she got very busy
And she
during
got you
that
as a
time.
new client.
That's it. So right away,
I
my
can't pay you.
anxiety disappear.
I
I
can't
got
pay you,
free
but I'm
treatment.
gonna, but I'm
Yeah,
gonna be your new client. You
that's
know,
it.
the what happened with me was, have a had a large, we still do have a jewelry company, and one day we were open, and we were selling our jewelry in 1,000 retailers all over the United States, and the next day
Wonderful.
they were all closed,
Wow.
and we had to let everyone go.
How many people did you have working?
55.
Oh wow. That I can feel your pain when you have to. I would carry that stress on my back because I would never want to feel that like disappointing others. Is it affecting others' lives? That I can feel your pain there. See,
Right.
when it's myself, I can deal with certain things. When I'm responsible for many others, you multiply that. If you're conscious, aware, and loving person, you carry that with you. And how do you deal with that? It's
Yeah.
tough.
So
tough.
we kind of figured things out, and the key word for the year of 2020 is pivot. We pivoted and all that stuff, but
Mm.
nevertheless, I just remember waking up in the middle of the night on more than one occasion at 2 in the morning or whatever time it was, and I was just in and I'd never experienced this before to this degree. Full, it's full blown panic mode,
Mm.
heart's racing, and you know, and all
Mm.
I wasn't even thinking about anything, but I just woke up and bam, there it was. And
Mm.
and I remember thinking, oh, this feeling is never going to go away. I'm going to have to live with this feeling forever. And I said, and then the next thing that came into my mind was, wait a second, you know techniques to use. I mean, it's 2 in the morning. You're not really thinking
Yes.
complicated thoughts, and I've been
Mm-hmm.
teaching martial arts and meditation for 20 years. So it was a kind of a simplified conversation with myself. I said, wait a second, you know what to do, and
Yes.
and I, and I just observed my breath for
That's
20
tricky.
minutes, just
Yes.
a simple meditation lying in bed. And,
Yes.
20 minutes, I felt great.
Yes.
I didn't feel normal. I felt great. It was just, so that was great. The other thing I noticed was that after a minute or two, it didn't change. And I'm saying to myself, well, I've been doing this for a minute or two. How come I'm not feeling better? Like I said, at 2 in the morning, you're not thinking as clearly,
Yes.
or as wisely. But that was, one of bazillion examples where I directly applied a
The breath
technique
work. Yeah.
to solve that problem in my mind, that illusion
Yes.
in my mind.
Mm.
The other thing is to have the discipline and the desire to take that technique and use it. Because I know, for
Mm.
example, I don't get angry anymore, but back in the day, if I got angry, I didn't want any stupid technique. I'm angry,
Mm.
and I'm angry,
Mm.
and I'm right.
Mm.
I'm right. And I have a right to be angry. It's like I own the anger and it's mine, don't
Yes.
take it
And
away from you.
hold on to it.
Right. Hold on to that,
Mhm.
So you need that whole martial art, well, not just martial arts, but you need that whole discipline to
Yes.
be able to switch gears and say, hey, let
Yes.
me try this, let me try that. I know this will work, that, et cetera, et cetera. So it's kind of I
Mm.
don't want to call it a trivial example, but that is a small example compared to everything else that ha, uh, martial arts and the Eastern
That's right.
way have to
But,
offer us.
or Qigong, and basically that's what you would call Qigong, or in yoga, prana, change the energy.
Right.
Because the energy, whether it comes in anxiety or fear, you feel it inside. And all emotions are attached to breath. Once you can breathe deeply and calmly and relax yourself, you change that feeling. When you do it with movement, you get much more, you see, because then you stretching, moving, breathing. That's why in Qigong you see forms like that, like heavenly cloud hands is a great form. You can get lost in heavenly cloud hands, which I do daily. And it's like all the tension, all the stress is coming out your body, going out your fingertips, and you keep exhaling, exhaling, and you're visualizing the clouds. And when you inhale, slowly you're opening, you feel as if you're moving the clouds, you're opening up your heart, your mind, and then you exhale coming back down. So physically you getting all that trapped energy to move. And I could be in that state 30 minutes easily, just standing and breathing and kind of disappear from planet Earth.
Yeah. Oh, for
It's,
sure.
it's cleansing and relaxing. And those are the techniques we need when we're under that state of, tension and anxiety. Otherwise, it starts to affect us more. And you
Right.
cannot function well too.
So because you had a strong practice and a consistent practice, you were, feel free to correct me, but you were able to
Sure.
weather the storm of the alarms going off. Because there's two parts. One is, yeah, well, what else can I do? Let me go do these other things.
Yes.
Let me marshal my assets, my knowledge, my wife's work. What's
Sure.
going on in the environment. Let's see what's going. Let's assess.
Yes.
But
You have to get ready.
the other side is you want to assess not in panic mode. You
Hmm.
want to assess because panic mode doesn't feel good at any time, whether you're assessing or you're not assessing. But you were able to assess and implement in non-panic mode because of your. I mean, did you end up? Gee, I got to practice more Tai Chi now. Did you like? Oh, I should be meditating more, or was it just like, okay,
No, I didn't get to that stage. I was calmly moving because in my mind, I know what I need to do. And of course, this is the first thing we need to do is learn to be still. First technique. And you may know it. It's a great Tao uh, quote that says, "Can you remain still until everything settles and the right moment appears for movement?" So there's times of crisis, and we were going through this crisis, right? Storm, and we needed to learn to be still and assess the things, take cover, and do the best you can to overcome. So I was fine in that state. Of course, I didn't have all the responsibilities like you had with your company and people's lives, and that's much more, I think, stressful when you have to deal with a lot of that. And so for me, it was just taking time out and looking at the future, looking at the changes of life, looking at my conditions, and looking on where I want to go and how I plan to do things.
Yeah. So that's brilliantly said. And I know now never, and I've known this for years, although you have to relearn some stuff all over again, never to
Mhm.
make a decision in a sense of when you have fear, anxiety, panic, any of that stuff. That's not the time to
That's
decide,
right.
I'm angry
Hmm.
about something. Well, let's do it this way then. No,
Yes.
no. Wait till you get clear,
Yes.
calm, and you may end
Hmm.
up doing the same thing, but I don't want to say always, but I tend to make mistakes if I'm in that state of mind and I try to make a decision on something. That's not
Yes.
the time to do it.
Yes. Hmm.
And if you need to make the decision sooner rather than later, then you better lose that state of mind quickly
Yes. I agree.
and get
Yes.
clear, you know,
Yes.
and maybe even go meditate. I'm not saying, oh, every time something bad comes, something negative comes up, go meditate. You know, who's got the time?
Hmm.
But if you, oh, we need to decide, no problem. I'm gonna go meditate, calm down, and then I can make it, speak to it intelligently. But what I like the analogy, you know, we had a storm. Guess
Hmm.
what? When you're in a boat, you're in Florida. When you're in a
Hmm.
boat and you know the storm's coming,
Hmm.
that's the time when you see the storm coming, the beginning of the storm, you do whatever you
Yeah.
can to make sure that that boat is going to handle
Secure.
it.
And you got
That's
life and you got to have life jackets
everything's out.
around.
That's not the time to say, you know, there's a storm coming. Let's see if we can get through the storm really fast.
Mm,
That's not the time. That's the time to
right.
make sure you live.
Yes, you prepare and
You
yes, and
prepare,
try to
you
yes,
live, you
yes,
become still, you
hmm,
become calm,
yes,
and it's no difference than, you know, if you and I are fighting and you're up here like this, I'm not going to punch you in the face.
yeah. You
That's
go,
not the time
no,
to punch you in the face. The time to
right.
punch you in the face is when that happens and then boom.
Hmm. Yes,
So, you know, but you have to be alert enough, awake enough, aware enough to see and feel that as opposed to just go, 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 fight, 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 fight. You know, I mean,
that's right. That is true. It's a cyclic,
it's a rhythm. There's a
a
rhythm to
rhythm.
it.
Yes,
There's a rhythm to
yes,
it. And
yes,
you've got to listen and feel it.
yes,
You know, I'm not going to punch you when I feel big and strong.
yes,
I'm going to punch you
yes.
when he's not paying attention. Bam.
Mm,
He's inhaling. Bam. He's looking over there.
mm,
Bam.
that's
He's
right.
coming up out of it. Whatever the cues are.
Yes,
You tell me when to punch you.
yeah, yes. Being
Same thing.
aware. Yeah.
We have to
Mm-hmm.
let the environment tell us
Ah, perfect.
now is the time. You know, where the rabbit
Hmm.
doesn't jump out of, I don't know much about rabbits. We have rabbits in our yard.
Oh, really? Yes,
But the
I
rabbit
thought
doesn't
so.
come out of his hole and start running around. The coyote's there. He's going to kind of
Yes,
look and say, is it time yet?
safe. Yes.
So,
And that's it. And that's through training, you do become sensitive to
right,
that vibrational feeling,
right.
and that is true. And I notice a lot, especially in qigong, they have that term, uh, HSC, heightened sensory perception,
Got it.
right?
Yep.
And some martial arts, like in my young days, I did a lot of Wing Chun, Bruce Lee did. And they have a lot of, they call sticky hands. It's actually called Chi Sao, energy hands. Tai Chi has it too, where we touch and move it. It's the next level of training our sensitivity, training our proprioception to feel. And even though you're doing it by touch, later on, without touching, you develop certain feeling or psychological sensation of movement without touch. So your overall being becomes more sensitive or aware of vibrational energies. And
Absolutely.
through training, you develop some of that. And you climbing mountains, I would think you could feel when it's safe. I can hold on here, or no, this don't feel good. Because
Yeah.
you're touching, you're feeling.
So what's interesting about, I always viewed climbing as not a type of a martial art because you're not fighting anyone, but very similar. Because if you're not paying attention, if
Mm,
I'm not paying attention when I'm fighting you, you're going to hit me, or I'm going to hurt myself. And the same thing with climbing. If you're not paying attention, you're going to get hurt. You
yeah.
have to pay attention. So in
Mm,
that regard, they're very similar. Um, the other, I don't want to say downside, but the other experience that I had with martial arts early on was, sometimes if you have a hammer, you're going to try to solve every problem you have with a hammer.
yes.
Oh, but that problem may need a screwdriver or this or that. No, I got my
Yeah.
hammer. And not everything needs to be a fight.
Hmm. That's
Not
good.
every battle has to be a battle. Not every
Right.
disagreement has to be, well, I'm not gonna give in to, that kind
Yes.
of attitude. I'm a tough,
Mm.
I'm a black, I'm
Yeah.
not gonna,
Yeah.
he doesn't know, I mean,
Mm.
I notice that now I'm older and
Mm.
hopefully wiser. And I kind of realize that. And it's like, yeah, okay, we'll do it your way. Or, hey, maybe there's a
Mm.
compromise. Or that's not an
Hmm.
issue.
Yes.
Or no, I disagree. We're not going to do it. Whatever it is. But it doesn't have to be a fight.
That's right. And that's what the Tao says. And it's practiced in Tai Chi. Yield and overcome. Right? Bend and be straight. Empty and become full. So that's why in Tai Chi you find lots of yielding, more defensive. Before you move forward, always
Right.
yield and breathe in, breathe out. No, but yielding, learning to yield. And in a Christian sense, I guess, learning to turn the other cheek. But as martial artists, as warriors, when you turn the cheek, what happened? This side extends. You see, turn this one extends.
Right.
So it's actually you see when the waist turns. So yeah, you can turn the cheek, but look what's coming back at you. But yeah, learning to yield, and that takes patience at times, right? You catch yourself like you were teaching the kata to pause because you're learning to pause, yield to see what's there before in a rush. If you're always in a movement or you're in a competition and you're going, your energy is going. You haven't stepped back and yield and see a different perspective. It's able to react or change the action. So yielding is very, very powerful. Learning to catch yourself in the moment. Pause,
Yeah.
pause, pause in simpleton.
It is an underestimated technique to yield and to soften
Yeah.
because it's viewed from a Western perspective as weakness.
Mm,
But from an Eastern perspective, it's just the other side of the coin
that's
of
right. Yes.
going forward. It's like, yeah,
Yes.
before I go forward, I got to go back.
Yes. Yield to overcome. Yes.
Yeah. There's a quote
Mm-hmm.
by Master Funakoshi, who is master karate practitioner, brought karate, west. The secret principle of martial arts is not vanquishing the attacker, but resolving to avoid an encounter before its occurrence.
Hey, he's very sensitive to sunset.
Yeah.
He can
So,
predict your movement before it comes, or to see it before it happens. See, you change the future if you can do that.
right. Don't even be there. So I remember
Yes, yes.
my first karate teacher said,
Mhm.
yeah, we're training you so when you walk down the wrong street in New York or Chicago, whatever, you can take care of yourself. But the whole idea is just don't walk down that street.
That's right. Why do you have to?
You know,
That's
either use your intuition
yeah,
or use your intellect. You're
yes,
about to walk down the street. You go, this is dark. I don't like the way this looks. Go somewhere else.
That's
When,
right.
when you're really high level, you don't even have to look at the street. You just know I'm not going over there.
Yes, you can sense. Or if you have to be there, you'd be a little bit more prepared.
Yeah, yeah.
For some reason you have to be there, you be more on guard in a way. It's dark, doesn't look too good, and it's a garbage can. Anybody could be behind there. I'm more alert. See, I put on more radars around me if I have to be in that situation. And so, yeah, it's awareness and mindfulness is a very powerful thing, whether it's for martial art or just for daily living. We need to exercise that and mindful meditation. And this is the way I look at all martial arts or Qigong or Tai Chi. It's mindful meditation. We're being mindful of the way we move, we breathe, we feel, and just harmonize with others. Harmony. And
So when you find yourself in a situation now, not necessarily related to the pandemic, although it could be, you find yourself something's happening, you're annoyed, you get irritated, or you get angry. What do you meditate? What do you do? Are there what technique do you use when you recognize, oh, I'm angry, or do you just let it dissipate, or do how do you deal with
well,
that?
well, expression of anger itself to be okay to express it. If you disagree with something, you see something is wrong, totally wrong, you say, that is terrible. You expressing energetically an emotion how you feel. Doesn't mean you're gonna hold on to it.
Right.
I don't think I'm walking around with that and holding on to that anger all the time. But if you express something that's bad or wrong, you just make an expression and maybe your energy may say that is terrible, get the energy out. But you're not holding on to that. Now, if something is disturbing you, which means that thought is always in your mind and disturbing you, keeping you up at night and can't sleep because it's affecting you, then you need to do certain things to change it. Yes, qigong, breathing, which means you burn it out, burn different energy, so you can relax, calm yourself. And there are many forms of qigong or breathing exercise to change it because anger itself are stored energy in our liver. So when you feel yourself getting frustrated and anger and it's constant, it's some toxicity within the liver. Sometimes that emotion can be generated. Let's say if a person is not being uh, wise about their diet and drinking. If you drink too much, alcohol can affect the liver. And that's why, and I know people and good friends who drink a lot, and they will get upset and angry a lot and easy too. And I know it's the liver cheese. Okay? But it's effective certain qigong for the liver. And of course, we know the liver energy is connected to the eyes. That's why person has jaundice or something, you can see coloration. First, you get angry, you definitely see in the eyes the light change. So, certain breathing to release that anger energy. So, and the liver energy is an anger. The element is wood. So when you angry, one of the best qigong I like, and Prati does it a lot too, is to burn the wood. Because when you burn wood, you create what? Heat, different energy, useful energy. So this is part of the eight pleasures qigong, and I learned it also from Grandmaster Lee. It's part of Shaolin, and it's just breathing, the dynamic tension. And remember, eyes are connected to liver. So when you breathe, you go breathe in. When you exhale, you make the sound SHU, like SHU.
Mm-hmm.
And the sound is interesting because they study these sounds from centuries. Because even in the English language, when we get frustrated or angry or upset, what do we say a lot?
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
So,
Right.
and you tense your muscles and you burn it out and you keep breathing out. And once you finish, you relax, you breathe to change the energy. So if the anger energy is upsetting a person, they can burn that energy out by just by. That's why in martial arts if you hit the bag or something, you sweat out, you may feel calm, relaxed. But the breath work itself, the liver chi, and you open the eyes wide and really release it, and then calm down, and then you can start to meditate. When you meditate, eyes closed, you focus your mind on the liver. The liver, the light of the liver is green, the energy, wood, green trees, and the liver produces biles, right, for the gallbladder, which are green. So you visualize light in the liver, and you do the inner smile. Tongue on the roof, you breathe in, and when you breathe out, smiling to your liver, visualize green light, and it's calm. So that's one technique that's part of
Beautiful.
Qigong, eight treasures.
Beautiful. Absolutely
Yes.
beautiful.
And
So
other techniques, and just another one, just to let you know,
please.
and you did a lot of martial arts. This is part of the Urmei Qigong, and Grandmaster Fu taught this a lot. I don't know if you met him, where you would like, if you're doing tiger, see, inhale, energy come up from the liver, hold it, and when you exhale, you would throw it out. And he designed different blankets with different energy, meditative energy blankets, so you can throw the energy there and not. But you throw it out, it gets recycled in the
Right.
universe, right?
For sure.
It's just to get it out of us, right? Because just like Buddha said, holding on to anger is like holding on to hot coals. The only one that gets burned is you. So you feel it is burning, breathe, do something. And that's the discipline of the arts. It's one practice, but learning it not just for fighting, I can learn the health purpose, learn the energy, learn the five elements, learn the qigong of it, to just release it and bring peace and calmness. And that is a very powerful way of understanding the arts, I think.
So what I love is the first thing you said is, yeah, you get angry, but just hold on, just don't hold on to it. Just let it go. Done.
Yeah, yeah,
But if we do keep it attached to it in our mind or therefore our body, then here's ways that we can filter it, eliminate it, get it out and be
yeah.
done with it. So, which are just forms of meditation or forms of moving meditation, which is Tai Chi or Qigong. So that was
All martial arts
a
is
martial
breathing, right?
arts.
Your
Yeah,
karate.
yeah.
What do you
As long
call
as
your
you're
karate breathing? Sante, I think it was the name they used to call it in
uh,
karate.
Dantian is Japanese for the lower abdomen area, and you can focus on that. There's all same similar different
Mm-hmm.
types of breathing exercises we can do. We are always, in theory, connecting our breath with our motion and our movement.
Mm-hmm.
So when you combine your mind, because you're paying attention,
Mm-hmm.
and your body and your breathing,
Mm.
in anything,
It's powerful medicine. It's
then
powerful medicine
yeah,
for ourselves.
yeah,
And that's, but it takes work, It's not like taking a
just a
couple
little
pills.
work, just a little bit.
Yeah. It's pleasure. It becomes pleasure to one who does it for many years, right? You enjoy doing it. And that's,
Yeah, for sure. I don't know where I would be today without it. I'm not even going to think about it. So,
Mhm.
who are your heroes, alive or dead?
Oh, I have many. Well, my dead hero, which started as teenagers, Bruce Lee, like most people. As a matter of fact, I was there at the school training with Grandmaster Lee when I heard that he passed away. This was in '73, and I remember that day vividly. In school, yeah,
So you are the
and
second. You are the second person on this podcast when I asked that question, who
mhm,
said Bruce Lee. Isn't that
yeah,
interesting? And the other guy is not really a martial artist. So, if Bruce Lee, and then of course his son, Brendan Lee,
yes,
tragedy.
tragedy with Brendan, yes.
Yeah.
But more interesting, I admire Bruce for what he, the way he trained and believed and what he demonstrated in martial arts. But more importantly, the philosophy behind his practice. That's what got me into a lot of philosophy as well. See? And that's what led me to study and practice Buddhism, Taoism, And because the study of our thoughts and how we think and does affect us in many ways. And for him, it's what his martial arts skills, the high level. He follows certain principles. So we all need a good operating system to guide us. And that's principles of wisdom, ancient wisdom, that you practice and make it your wisdom. And that's the awakening that comes in time. You learn to embrace and, in a way, cultivate your own operating system with all these tools that we pull from.
Yeah, it's the beauty, it's the jewel that we've been given from the Eastern world
Yeah,
is an operating system to work with our mind. So I'm very feel very lucky to have that. Anyways, it's been wonderful seeing you again. I
wow.
think we covered everything,
Oh, great. Likewise, I'm proud of
and
you doing this, and I wish you lots of success.
great.
And
You've been very inspiring. I really appreciate it. Not just here now, but even when I studied with you 10 years ago,
yes,
something like 20 years
yes,
ago, 15.
was it that long?
Yeah,
Time goes,
yeah.
right?
It's probably been
Yeah.
about 14, something like that. So
How long have you, yeah, been in San
California,
Diego?
10 years.
10 years now has gone by. Wow. Well, I'm no longer in Delray. I'm now in Boynton Beach.
Okay,
I not too far, but yeah,
good. Thank
all
you
is well
very
here.
much. It was
You're very welcome.
wonderful
Good
seeing you,
seeing
and
you.
I'll
Give
stay in
my
touch.
regards to Carolyn and your
I
wife,
will,
and
absolutely.
take care.
She's going to be watching this carefully.
Okay.
All right, be well. Stay safe, Gary. Take care.
You too, Marty.
Bye
Take
bye.
care.
I hope you enjoyed our talk with Sifu Gary Tong. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the It's Not What You Think podcast. That really helps us continue to produce these episodes and invite other guests from around the world. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, or would like to hear any specific guests on the podcast, please share my email, mordylevine@gmail.com, or visit mordylevine.com. And remember, it's not what you think.